Sometimes I don't want to give stories airtime, but this is one that we have to because it comes from a reliable source, which is Sky Sports News. Miles Lewis-Skelly, as you can see from the title of this vid, is being monitored by Premier League clubs with the World Cup coming up in the summer of 2026. The perspective or narrative that he is Arsenal's third choice left back means that he's probably going to have to look to play football elsewhere if he's to earn his place in the England squad. That is what's kind of doing the rounds. What Sky Sports have reported is that Premier League clubs are monitoring him, and then talked about Thomas Tuchel and the fact that he said he can't, basically not be playing for Arsenal and expect to be in the England squad. I've got quite a bit to say on this in terms of whether, let's address the first thing. Do I think Miles Lewis-Skelly is going to go anywhere? No. Categorically, I don't think he's going to go anywhere for a handful of reasons. Firstly, he just signed a new deal. He just only months ago signed a brand new contract with Arsenal. That's point number one. Secondly, he is way ahead of schedule. A year ago, I think he was starting to get some minutes in the first team. I never thought he'd be in a position where we talk about him as basically potentially our starting left back. I thought, yeah, okay, he can play a part. That's great to know that we can rely on him. But a year on, to have basically started at the Bernabeu, been Arsenal's first choice left back for, at a point, to have made the England squad, scored his first goal for England. I didn't expect around 18, I think he's just turned 19, that we'd be talking about, this trajectory for Miles Lewis-Skelly. As much as I rated the player, so much has happened. He's ahead of schedule. Yes, it might be frustrating from the England perspective. We'll talk about that. But I think from an Arsenal perspective, for his development, fair play to him. He's been, he's achieved so much in 12 months. And I think we have to remember that. Thirdly, what are we talking about? The reason why I don't think he'll go. Thirdly, I think he'll be backing himself to actually win his place in this Arsenal team back. I don't think Calafiori was brilliant the other night against Sunderland, though, to be fair, he's been one of our best players this season. I think as Martinelli returns and Ødegaard returns and Eze plays more on the left, I actually think Lewis-Skelly is going to combine better with those players, with Martinelli and Eze, than he perhaps has done with a Trossard, who I think is less touchline than Martinelli for sure, but that Eze can be. So I think Lewis-Skelly will complement those players. I also think as the year goes on, who knows if Calafiori gets an injury. I'm not wishing that on Cala, nor is Lewis-Skelly, but I'm just talking, there might be a game, picks up a red card where he doesn't play for a game or two for whatever reason. Miles starts and then maybe keeps hold of that shirt. I mean, he was tremendous when he was called upon against Atletico Madrid. So I think for all those reasons, plus the fact that what does it guarantee you going on loan elsewhere? What does it guarantee you if Arsenal, because they're talking about it as a permanent sale, what does it guarantee Miles in terms of development if he goes somewhere else, to play a very particular role? This is not a marauding up and down left back. This is someone who tucks into midfield and plays in a very particular system for a very particular manager in a very particular way. So what does leaving Arsenal do for him at all? Now, he could explore a loan, but I don't think Arsenal would sanction that. I mean, from the Arsenal perspective, absolutely should we not be sanctioning this? Because yes, he may be behind Calafiori and Nketiah. I don't think he's actually behind Nketiah, but he might be behind those two in theory, in the squad at the moment. But that leaves Gabriel as the only left-footed centre-back if those two are covering left-back. I think Nketiah and Calafiori essentially cover both. I don't think we've got a player like him in central midfield, so I do think he could get some minutes there every now and again. And look, as the season goes on, look at the injuries we've had already. Players will be in and out of this team. We'll need him to do a job. I just don't think it makes any sense whatsoever to be letting go of a Miles Lewis-Skelly. Unless you say, you know what, you're not quite ready, we'll let you go on loan and we bring another defender. But I wouldn't want to do that, because how many players have his raw potential, his skill, his ability to play left back and in midfield in a few different ways? And to make this point really abundantly clear, how many players are as good as him? I've been saying, I was just on Delu Laguna's channel, I've said it on the Canon Rewatch I do, I've said it on lots of pieces of content. I think Lewis-Skelly wins his place back at some point. I really do. I think as the season goes on, he will eventually become Arsenal starting left back again. So I just don't think it makes any sense for him, nor for Arsenal. And I don't really give this story much other than a reaction. I'm not going to go researching where he could go, who replacements could be, or whatever, because I don't think it's going to get to that. However, let's look at it from the England perspective. Is Thomas Tuchel right to not call upon Miles Lewis-Skelly while he's not playing for Arsenal? Well, not playing for Arsenal is a bit of a stretch. I mean, he started against Atletico Madrid. He started against Brighton at home in the Cup. And I think he would have started the Slavia Prague away game. The only reason he didn't was I think we went with Nketiah because we wanted to see Saliba step into midfield, which meant we needed centre-back/full-back hybrids to tuck in either side of the centre-back. You know, I think there's a very particular tactical plan that Arteta wanted to go with that involved Saliba stepping forward. Therefore, if you're going to rest Calafiori, Nketiah has to get the start. Also, Nketiah's barely started any minutes this season, so it makes sense to give him the minutes. So in theory, I think Lewis-Skelly is probably starting 2 to 3 games a month. I mean, that's not nothing, right? You know, there'll be teams who play basically just Premier League games. So players are out there 4 times between international breaks, and that's enough to get them called up to the England squad. So this idea that he's not playing at all, he's coming on in most games. So whatever, he's getting some minutes. That's the first thing. Secondly, he's playing and training with a squad that at the moment is delivering the highest levels in the Premier League, some argue across Europe, with Bayern Munich. It's not like he's surrounded by... Look, okay, let's put it this way. It's not like his development is crushed at the moment by the environment and surroundings he's in. And the final thing I'd say, by the way, I'm a big fan of Thomas Tuchel. I'm glad he's the England manager, and I think he can do a really good job with England. But my criticism to him would be, if you're using this to send a message to Miles, that's fine, or to send a message to players. I think he's done that before with the previous squad. I can't remember who was left out. Then okay, Trent. I think Trent was left out. Then I can kind of live with that. Although, did Trent make the current squad? Because if he hasn't, then that's probably the bigger point here, isn't it? I can kind of live with the idea that you maybe for one squad decision want to make an example here and there. But if this is genuinely how you see it, which is that essentially you have to be playing to be up to speed and to be in my squad, I just think that's ridiculous. I think if he's not playing at all, I understand. But who have you got? I mean, O'Reilly, cool, in good form for Man City. You got Lewis Hall, but he's just back from injury. You're not blessed with a plethora of options at left back. And the peak we've seen from Hall, from O'Reilly and Lewis-Skelly, Lewis-Skelly's delivering the highest peak of the 3, in my opinion, so far. So you know the level he can deliver and what he can do at the Bernabeu and what he's done on the biggest stage. We haven't seen that from those other 2 players yet. So I just think, why would you not want to take a player of that potential and that quality and just have him available? I don't know. Is he leaving Arsenal? No, he's not. I'd be staggered if he did. I'd be extremely disappointed if he did. But let's see. I think he will be in England's World Cup squad. I think he'll get there because I think he'll play for Arsenal. And I think Thomas Tuchel, who's had amazing things to say about Miles, by the way. He's really backed the kid. I just think this is Thomas Tuchel maybe making a bit of a point and also wanting to look at others. But I think Miles will be there and he will not be leaving Arsenal. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, people.